Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Welcome to Object Worship, the podcast where we talk about how the tangible helps us create the intangible. I'm your host, Dan Piechacek. I'm a circuit designer and code writer at Old Blood Noise, so I make pedals by day and I play them by night. I'm joined today by your host, Andy Othling, multi-talented musician playing pedals at all hours. And this actually feels like this would be like this. No, I pulled it up again. I actually read it more straight. Usually I have it up and I try not to read it word for word. And this time I went almost word for word because I was also listening to this song and it feels like I'm introing our new show on MTV2.
I know.
Well, like it. I don't know what song this is, but it hits some soft spots for sure.
I know. I could go. Yeah. So do you want me to go into it?
I would say, yeah. I guess so. Welcome to Object Worship. Yeah. I should tell the listener that we don't have a guest this week. It's just me and Andy hanging out. We'll talk pedals. We'll talk.
Hey, is this episode number 42 or no? I think it might be 43.
That seems right, but yeah, maybe it's 43.
I would love to get that sorted at the top of this so it doesn't say the wrong number for the whole episode.
Let's find out. 42 is always a great number.
It is a good number. I think we may have just done 42.
Latest episode.
This is good. This is good stuff.
This is especially on video. I think like just catching the
someone's face
of the monitor in my glasses. You know, just going, oh, he's scrolling. He's finding.
He's about to get it.
Yeah, that was episode 42. So this is episode 43.
How embarrassing. All right.
Of Object Worship.
Yes. Great.
You did that so easily and quickly that it felt like a bit.
Another example. I was like, I know I'm going to need to change that phrase every week. So I made a special doc in OBS that only has that text field. And I made sure to center the transform so that it doesn't become off center every time because I don't want to go into that scene and do that. So, thought ahead.
Stuff.
It's funny when things is like, is that a bit or was that something that he did to drastically improve his life? It's like, it's both.
Yeah, it's
both.
Tyler and I were working on our inventory spreadsheet, the spreadsheet that handles like all of Old Blood's inventory related needs. And we were looking at a part of it and I was like, see, we should have the $ here so that it like, but we're not going to go through and copy all of it. And then in the chunk we were looking at, the bottom third had the $ already. And I was like, oh, okay. So we did have this thought, but we just like started applying it at a certain point and then didn't go back and apply it everywhere else. So, okay, fine. This is the time where we apply it. So yeah, working occasionally smarter. But yeah, so welcome to Object Worship, episode 43.
43.
And so Andy, you mentioned that you could do a 90-minute dissection of the song we just listened to, but maybe we
it's not gonna. We're hits. Not. Yeah. No. I'll just point out one thing. So So first off, this is a song from a band called the Callous Dowboys, which is very funny.
That's a great name.
Very funny band name, and very good band. Their other songs do not sound like this. They're like breakdowns and screaming and the stuff I would, but also very, very eclectic. Like they have 2 string players in the band, and so this song was on my release radar last week, and I like the band, and this song came on and it was just like you even heard it a little bit. Like this is hitting just a lot of sweet, and I kept listening to it and I was just like, the whole thing just hit it. I was just blindsided by it. Like my release radar is usually just like blah, 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 blast beats and squealies and whatever.
Yeah.
And then this came on, I was just like at first I was like ready to swap songs, but it just, and the thing I want to talk about is Okay, well, it's at the very beginning, so let me play it. Here we go. So great riff.
Yeah.
And it has those stutter moments. Do you hear the stutter moments?
Yeah.
So I'm already just like, hell yeah. Like I'm in. And it's one of those, like, if I'm not mistaken, it's a one minor chord to the relative major, like open. It's like minor, major, open, like ding dong. I'm pretty sure. And that's like a 4. It's like minor to major real quick, and then to the 4, and then right here. So a couple of things. Props to them for putting that in, and props to whoever told the engineer to fuck off, turn that up even louder than the engineer wanted it to be. Like, that is so loud in the mix, and I'm like really happy they did it that way. And second thing, so that's a string player, I believe. Like in the music video, it's live footage, and like I said, there's like a violin playing.
Okay, I was trying. Well, it's one of those sounds that lives in an interesting place where you're like, is that a hyper processed vocal? Is that
it could have been a guitar? Like it could have been a couple of things. But really, the thing that gets me about it is one, that the mix decision there is so they're like, we know this is what makes it. You know, it's gonna be so loud.
Yeah.
The second thing is that so there's a verb on it, obviously, and okay, so musically, what's happening is, like, we already talked about what those chords are. It's like the minor to the relative major to a 4 chord, but then the notes the string player's playing is a 1. It's a 1 5 3, but it's picking out the root major chord. It's like the root major, and then the 5 note, and then the 3 note. But then they bend the 3 up to get the sus4. And the goodness of that whole line comes from the clashing of notes that happens when you bend from the major 3 to the sus4. Because that's a minor second interval, and that should not sound good. And it doesn't sound good in a lot of scenarios. But because they're doing like it's a major chord with a sus4 over that specific riff, like it's a perfect execution of things that I chase for like my whole sound, you know? And like to have it come in this song and in the first like 20 seconds I was just like what is happening?
It's an interesting song because it does. I can't tell you exactly what it's making me think of, but it's definitely making me think of like the mid-aughts, you know? It's like,
it's a Switchfoot song.
Yeah, I guess that's
like,
it. It's like,
I'm not
the kind of like, or the like, I'm going to say radio emo, I guess. But like, yeah, more the Switchfoot than the like Hawthorne Heights or whatever. But
right.
Yeah, but with the stutters, it feels like very modern production technique. Mm-hmm. That line, I think back then would have been like a gang choir vocal where everybody's just whoa,
whoa, like with the tambourine in the back. yes.
So it's like it's borrowing from that, but also doing new things. And yeah, I love the like the theory analysis of it too, because I will sometimes hear something and go, oh, that's that. Well, I guess that does the thing, like, which is I've just been thinking about that phrase a lot lately. But it's like, it does the thing, and I'm not even sure what the thing is, but it made me feel a certain way, and I recognize that move is present in other music that also makes me feel that way, and I might not even be able to tell you explicitly what the thing is, but it's like it did the thing.
And I was trying to, as you said that, I was like, oh, what is the thing about that sound that I'm talking about? And to me, it is that it's that major third bend up to a 4th, but there's something so complicated in that tiny little movement that if that movement didn't happen, that thing doesn't hit as hard at all. Like if they omit that sus4, it's not even remotely close to what it is there. But Like the way you move that note, like if you go too far, if you don't go far enough, assuming it's a string player, there's no frets for them to really know where that is. And I'm like,
probably if they snap to it instead of bend to it, it's not as good. If they, it's like all the little details
and the reverb is dialed in perfectly, so those notes hang around for just the exact amount of time they need to.
Yeah, they're clashing. They're also clashing as the bend is happening, and
yeah. So here, one more time. God.
Yeah,
like it never lands at the sus4 really, but it's just perfect. Just perfect.
It's also like basically on paper, it's a Yellow Card song.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Like there are all these little. The other band that I think of for this is Dead Poetic. Do you happen to remember that band? Or even Anberlin a little bit.
Yeah.
Dead Poetic is a really good one in the Anberlin world. Like almost Jimmy Eat World.
Us just listening to this now. Yeah. It is the. Yeah, there's that hair of Jimmy Eat World, but like the sweetness or like the riffier side of
And there's so much of like even that riff just there was like a minor chord and then still just banging on the low root major chord though. Like it's not like a minor like your drop D and it's like D minor feel. It's like no, I know this song is drop C, but it's C major. And that's why it kind of feels that way too. Like it makes me be like, maybe I'll say honestly, like this I've listened to the 4 songs that are out from this album. It's not out yet, the full album. I've just listened to them on repeat, like since this song has just gotten under my skin in a way that like something hasn't in a while. So
I love when that happened, especially like as it's like as you get older, but it feels like you get obsessed with songs less often, but when it does happen, it's a great feeling. I'm trying to think of examples in my life recently, but I got nothing currently. But.
Also, I won't play anything from it, but John Snyder posted about he's like, this is the first time I looked up a band because I saw their pedal board and they were using John's stuff. He's like, this is the first time I looked it up and was like, oh my God, this rules, So, and it was a band called Yahweh Nail Gun. And the name sounds insane, but when you listen to it, you're like, this is not at all what I thought. And it's another one that is like, I've never heard anything like that. And I keep listening to it. Like this is like, I've heard all of this before in different ways. And that's why I love it. And that's not a negative thing about it. But the Yahweh Nail Gun is like, I have I don't even know where to place this in my brain of like what this is. Like, what were they listening to? I have no idea. Anyway, that's fun. That's fun stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love the concept of seeing a pedal board and being like, I should listen to this band.
Yeah.
I guess it's the equivalent of like if you're at a show and you're there for one band and you're not familiar with the other. And as they're setting up, you're like kind of trying to guess,
Yes, you're like, ooh, they got some orange amps. That's interesting. Oh, I'm seeing hollow body guitars.
Oh, he's playing a Strandberg. Does that mean we're really going to get along or really not?
It's one or the other. Yeah, well, that's the Callous Cowboys, and this song is Distracted by the Mona Lisa.
It's really like it. I just became aware that I once more left my heater on in the background, so we're gonna one loud beep so we can hear less of the gentle whir.
15 minutes into the show, we're getting everything situated.
I realized it like 5 minutes ago, and then I was like, I gotta acknowledge it while I make the beep so that there's not just a startling beep in the background. I want our listeners to feel comfortable.
We would hate to draw attention to it for a long period of time. All right, Dan, what have you been
Yeah.
obsessed with this week, huh?
I don't know, man.
There was a phrase you were obsessed with.
Yeah, so we were talking about doing this episode, and I was like trying to think whether there might be an organized something that could be the episode title, because it's usually like Dan and Andy and the Black Fountain, or like,
Yeah.
Dan and Andy talk about this thing. And I found myself thinking, I think Eastside Music posted about the Boss, like, Waza lineup. And they posted a few. It was like the VB2, DM2, something else. But it was just about how great the Boss, like,
Yeah.
Waza Craft series is. And they were like, it was kind of like which one's your favorite? Like, what, it was just a general, like, encouraging engagement around those specific things.
We know what you're trying to do, Eastside. You're trying to get that engagement. That's clout farming. I know what's going on.
You guys just want people to see your posts and buy from your amazing store
and support your
encourage
business.
this industry we're all a part of.
Well, I see what you're doing.
But and I can't remember if I actually left this comment or if I just thought it internally, but I looked at it and I was like, man, yeah, the VB2 just does the thing. Because I got a VB2 recently because I had borrowed one from Old Blood for a long time and then gave it back to the shop when I moved, and was using like the Asheville ACV1 for my vibrato, or like I might just have it on the Quad Cortex or whatever. And I was like, yeah, these are good. And then finally, like, a deal popped up for a VB2, and I was like, let me just get one again. And kind of after going on this vibrato journey and
the
Waza
Craft
VB2
one
again, just the Waza Craft one, so not a vintage one, but the kind of like recreated version of it. And I turned it on, and I turned the speed knob all the way down and the depth up like about a quarter of the way, and I was just like, yep, it does the thing. It does the thing. And it's like, I think part of that comes from listening to Graham Coxon using the VB2 with Blur a lot. There's a lot of cool vibrato usage in that, and maybe just because it is such a like classic example of a vibrato pedal, that when you hear it, it's like, it feels like songs you've heard that use that pedal. But it's like, vibrato itself is such a simple effect that it's like, really anything with like a similar wave shape and rate and depth range, like, I couldn't describe to you what the nuance is, but if I plug in a VB2 and turn the speed knob all the way down and depth somewhere to taste, I'm like, that's the thing. That's like the vibrato sound I'm looking for. And so I was kind of chewing over that phrase of like, what does it mean to do the thing? Because I then quickly thought of like two other examples of times where I've thought that, and one was playing the Mythos Envy at Eastside at an event they had there, and just playing it. They had like a Strat or a Silver Sky, or a Strat like guitar into like a Milkman headphone amp, and you turn on the Envy, which is their Tube Screamer derivative, and you just go, yep, that's the thing. It's like you're playing a Strat through a Scoopy amp, and you turn on that overdrive, and you're just like, it does exactly what you want it to do. They got a little bass switch on there, and you're like, there we go, and now I've got some low end back, stuff like that. So there's like that, and the VB2 are both kind of like, oh yeah, I've heard that sound before, and so that could be the thing. But then also when Chase Bliss came out with the Onward, I heard demos and went, it does the thing, at least I think it does. Yeah. And I bought one, and the moment I plugged it in, I was like, yes, it does the thing. And it was basically a hyper-specific thing that I hadn't even thought to articulate about my own playing. But basically, like, what I want is to be playing and have kind of like little frozen bits pull out of my playing dynamically. And it's like kind of similar to how I use like doing like stretch loops on Mood, or doing like maybe bits in Sunlight, or maybe it's like, it was a sound I was never specifically looking for, but when I heard it in Onward, it just felt like, oh, I want to put this on everything. This also quote unquote does the thing. So that was my concept. I was like, maybe we just think about things that do the thing, and explore what that means, or if it even means anything. I don't know. It's the episode title could be Dan and Andy and pedals that do the thing, or maybe just the thing. Our guest this week is the thing.
a thing.
But
Yeah,
so that, yeah, and once you start thinking about it,
yeah.
you're like, oh yeah, you can just kind of apply it wherever. It's like all sorts of things can be the thing.
Well, yeah. And then, I mean, I already went down little trails in my brain where I'm like, well, there's been moments too where you're like, where you trick yourself or you find out that like, you got placeboed or something. You're like, oh, the thing isn't what I thought it was. Like something,
Yeah.
something else can accomplish the thing in a way that I didn't expect. Kind of like I'm trying to think like I just really I feel like the neck pickup on a Telecaster is like that would be a spot where I'd be like, that does the thing, and it'd be like, to me that's like can I play a Tom Morello riff and it sounds right.
Yeah, which and you wouldn't think, like, you're looking at the whammy and the whatever Marshall amp he uses, and like
Yeah,
you're
the
looking
JCM
at other,
800 that no one else likes.
yeah, you're
It's the
looking at
2-channel one.
other parts of his signal and not being like, but wait, neck pickup on a Tele?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I mean, and like that's the thing. I don't know. No, it's a
Yeah.
good question because I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, and I think, and it also, I like mentioned this in the Discord, so we might get some voicemails.
Yeah, I know
about
there.
this.
Yeah.
But there was one person that said, they gave the example of, they were like, well, the fart pedal does the thing, but the question is, should it do the thing?
Yeah.
And that was actually really like revelatory to me, because I was like, oh no, this is actually another part of it. The fart pedal, to me, the way I feel about the thing, absolutely does not do the thing.
What is the thing in that?
So when I heard about the fart pedal,
yeah,
I need to give this some real gravitas. When I heard about the fart pedal,
I was sitting down, luckily.
Thank God. When I heard about the fart pedal, I was like, okay, well, that's like a super silly idea. But I immediately constructed it in my head of, it's like a fart synthesizer. So like if you play harder or softer or with different pitch information, it is like, maybe it's a sampler, but it's applying to, like, basically in my head, I was like, oh, it looks like they really went for it. So they must, here are my ideas about how you would be committed to that bit. And then when I saw demos, it seemed like it's just like kind of a threshold thing where it just like randomly triggers a different fart noise if you get above a threshold.
Yeah. And so then you got disappointed?
Basically, it was an over-promising, not that they promised more, but that when I heard the concept, I basically decided, okay, that seems like silly and stupid, but whatever, and I don't want to, like, we're all having fun here. I love that somebody made that and a bunch of people got a kick out of it.
Are you shitting on the fart pedal right now?
I am. To be perfectly clear. Taking a giant no, but it was literally like, I heard about it and I basically I sort of internally decided, if it's like this, I will decide that it's a good thing that's not for me. And if it doesn't meet those standards, I will decide that not only is it a thing that's not for me, but I'm going to say it's not even that good of a thing.
Yeah.
And so so that in my book, it's like, so in my case, that even though it's a pedal that just says, here's what it's going to do, and it does it, that's different than actually doing the thing.
Did you realize how fast you designed a new guitar pedal in your head just then too? Like old blood noise fart, but like, what can let's go to thesaurus.com and look up different words for fart.
Yeah. How can we do this right?
Cause it sounds like you've already got it laid out. You've got
the gastronomer,
yeah.
People think pedal names are easy, but as we know from some upcoming products, it's tough.
Yeah, we've been spending a lot of time on thesaurus sites lately. Synonyms for fart. There we go. The flatus. I can't believe I'm reading Okay, I'll just read the list. 1, break wind. 2, flatus. 3, wind. 4, breaking wind. Farter, farty, flatulence, belch, poot, poop, flatulent burp, turd, sharts. This is... And I'll read more if you want. Booger, sneeze, snot, poopy, puke, barf, stink, gassy, smell, or duty. Duty.
And that's what I felt when I discovered what the real fart pedal was. I felt a sense of duty that I should.
The sense of duty. That's the pedal name. The sense of duty. Or Call of Duty. Oh my God. All of a sudden the ideas are just flowing.
Let's
get the rest of the guys in here.
But yeah, so not to spend too much longer on the fart pedal, but I just thought it was actually like a kind of incredible example of when someone said it did the thing. I was like, no, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
And in fact, this is really clarifying to me that it's not just that it does what it promises to. It's that there's some like ineffable something that you can't put your finger on in addition to the thing it promises to do.
Well, I suppose that's why you're saying it does the thing. It's like, because you're kind of saying, I can't really say anything more than that. It's just the thing. Oh.
Yeah, I guess that is it. Yeah, that's the phrase that I tend to reach for when I'm not sure how to quantify what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I think we should go to the hog line after that.
I think this also, just as the briefest aside, because we have spent too much object worship talking about the 7-string telly, but that is like something, whenever it comes up, people like have different suggestions for it. And I'm like, any one of these could be right. But I think I'm also maybe chasing like a bit of an idea of like, I'm perfectly happy if it's like, I don't even know how much it needs to be a telly. I think when I'm saying a telly, I'm more like there is a sound quality. It's like it could just be like low wind PAFs or like different. It's like I'm looking for like dynamic range but sharpness and clarity, but it's like I'm looking for a thing that I keep describing as like just a
not boomy low end but still very present.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So one of these days I'll plug in and go, the thing. And it'll probably turn out it's like it's like an Abasi or something with Fishmans. I'm like, I had no idea. I really goofed.
What's funny too is like if you really want to say what the thing is it's probably just some numbers. It's like, oh, the thing is like a 1.5K dip at it's a Q value of what like that. The answer is something like so inscrutable almost.
It is.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is a highly quantifiable thing. And it's probably that I don't know how to dial the VB2 sound on a number of more functional vibratos, There's probably just like a rate where like on a VB2, I'm just like, just turn it all the way down and it doesn't actually go super slow. So like probably if I could just dial in that rate and the right wave shape, I'd be like, oh wait, yeah, this is great. This is exactly right.
That actually reminds me that on the gear page, I didn't read the thread, but I just saw a title that someone posted. It was like VB2 makes my tone better? ? Was the title. They were like, which is a funny thing to ask. I assume the person is like, is it normal or okay that this is like, I don't know. You noticed your tone was better and you went to ask about it. That's funny.
But yeah, it was just like they added a buffer, like the buffer of that pedal, like hell, or like
something. Like I said, I didn't read it, and the person may have been just like, "Does anyone else notice this?" Which is fine. Free country and stuff. You can do that. You can talk about that. Yeah.
All right, but yeah, let's get into the hog line.
Let's do it. All right, so this first one is about something from a very old episode. So that's fun. Let's see what this is.
Hey, this is James Kahn from Canada, and I was just listening to some older episodes, one from a year ago. The guy from Empress called in questioning why we call a trem bar a tremolo instead of a vibrato or whammy, but I prefer to go with the Neil Young calls his a wang bar, which I always go to wang bar.
Yeah. Hell
Have
yeah.
a good day. Love the pod.
Are there any other words for that?
That was the only, I was like, I bet he's going to say wang bar because that's the only remaining one I can think of. I'm sure there are, but
I would call in if you know of names for it other than wang bar and the standard ones.
wiggle stick, I have heard.
Yeah. Okay, don't call in if it's wiggle stick. We got that one. Anything else though? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Amy, what do you call that thing?
I think I mean, I feel like it depends on who I'm around. Like if I'm around people who know, then it's, you'd say what it is. Like that's a Floyd Rose or that's a Bigsby or something,
Yeah.
But if I'm around not that, I think I would say whammy bar, because I think that would be what a non-guitarist would be. Oh, the thing that goes wah 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 wah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think whammy bar probably if I'm trying to like describe it to someone. If I'm just generally like, I like a hardtail. Like I don't really like guitars with tremolo as much. Tremolo would be my go-to.
Which is funny to say that even too, because that doesn't.
Yeah, because it's
make
the wrong.
sense.
Yeah, it's the classically wrong example. And then I guess if you're talking, like Bigsby or Floyd Rose, like I'd use tremolo generically. But if I'm like observing a guitar with a Bigsby, I'm not gonna refer to it as a tremolo.
Yeah,
I'm gonna call it a Bigsby because they occupy. It's like when you hear Bigsby, you kind of think of like a certain type of motion. You hear Floyd Rose, you think of a certain type of motion, and then tremolo is like a more generalized.
Right.
I don't know. It could be a Jazzmaster style or Strat style. They could be like hitting it real hard or just light vibrato from the tremolo.
Right.
That classic description.
It just does the thing,
It just does the thing.
You know who else just does the thing?
Clint. All I really want is Clint. And I like the way he calls. And it's chill to hear him talk. And I
want to see this song live.
Hey guys, it's Clint. So, y'all's comment, y'all mentioned how, talking about pedals, that it just does the thing. And I mean, if I was to really just give that pedals that I think just do the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, of course I'm not kissing ass, but it would be the flat lot. I mean, you got the whole detuned.
I'm curious to hear what he says, like the thing is in this context.
The whole, I mean, everyone's going to call it whale sounds, but with the whale sounds going into the, with the whole resonant effect, holding down the, doing the shift, the tilt function, and having it go into so many different pedals, like reverbs or even gain-based pedals. I mean, it does the thing. And then, I'm being biased, I think Dust, for me, Dust is one of those things that does the thing. I mean, like the whole MW effects, Judder.
Judder, yeah.
There's one thing that does the thing, the whole glitchy thing, but I like fuzz and gain, that's why Dust. So yeah.
That's why
and
Dust.
Of course, when it comes to like Luke Litz weird stuff that does the thing, for me it's Tensor. But
still never played one of those.
Tensor.
I hope y'all enjoy y'all's brothers that y'all are mentioning.
Yeah.
And y'all take care. Maybe see y'all in December. If y'all gonna be in Baltimore, I'll see y'all then.
See you in
But December, I have no idea. We'll see.
And to be clear,
well.
the phrase "see you in December" has transcended actually physically seeing you in December. Like it's
like see you when
it's
I
a
see
greeting.
You. See you around. See you in December.
Yeah, see you in December.
Talk to you next pod.
So, yeah, it's valid. It's valid. Clint, you are valid for saying that. Okay.
I think Dust is a really good example of a pedal that's like super simple control set, but just it does the thing.
It does the thing.
You feel like you play it and you're like, I understand what this was going for, and I recognize that it achieved it, and I want to keep playing it. You know, it's that that kind of trio of things.
Do you think Flatlight actually is that? Like what? Like
So Flatlight
listen,
is-
I love Flatlight. I'm big fan, but I don't know if I would say it does I don't know what I would mean if I said it does the thing.
That
You know?
Yeah, and this is
the
maybe
crux
part
of
of why
the
I wanted
thing.
to explore this whole
Yeah.
this whole thing is that I was like, I find myself thinking that a lot, and even I am not sure what I mean. But
Yeah.
I do think that like that resonate mode,
Yeah.
I think I maybe had a concept of what it could be, what it could sound like, and it landed somewhere else. But it did still land somewhere that is not the same as a classically resonant flanger, because it's like multiple kind of flangey chorus lines that are all like maxing out their feedback to create that resonance. And so it's like the way Flatlight does it is super unique. And so to me, it would almost be like if we made another flanger pedal and it sounded like Flatlight, I could be like, oh, it does the thing.
Right. Which I know
to like
we
a
used,
Flatlight player, they could be like, Flatlight's the only one that does the thing. You know, it's like it can be.
it's your personal thing. It only does, which that's how I am with it. It's like, you know, Clint talking about that tilt switch. Like I remember years ago when I was looking through the Old Blood site, like had some extra cash. I was like, what do I want to grab? Like what? And I already had the reverbs, you know, and Flatlight just hit this spot for me. I was like I'm not normally a flanger guy, but the tilt control, like just that ability to take whatever sound you have and just like max it out for whatever that was. Like that was the thing that pushed me over the top with it. And it's still the thing that makes it, you know, something I go back to. Like, cause you know, I think even back, that was so long ago too. It's just like, oh, this isn't going to be just a static sound when you turn on. Like you still have another layer you can go into and then back off of. And like, especially in that resonant mode, like I never cranked the shift all the way up, but you could have it get to a spot where it's like, feels like it's about to like explode and then you back off from it. Like that's just super cool. And the simplicity of it, you know, whatever. I'm just doing an ad now, but damn, I just really like the pedal.
So it is up for debate. It's like for me, Flatlight doesn't do the thing, but for a lot of people it does.
For me and
does
Clint,
a lot of
it
really
does.
Fun things. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it is different for different people too. I was thinking like one of the things I thought we might talk about this week is we're discontinuing Screen Violence, just because it is a great pedal that we've had for a couple of years. Because of the structure with the band, it has like different margins on it, and then you get hit with like tariffs and other things, and it's just like it became a pedal that didn't really make sense to produce anymore. So we're discontinuing it. We're within the month of May. I think it's at the end of this month. It's going away. But it made me think like, oh, I wonder if any of the people from churches plugged into Screen Violence and went, it does the thing. Because I had a moment where when we were working on that pedal, the album wasn't out yet, and they had described a lot of the sounds that they got and the devices that they used to get those sounds.
Right.
But I hadn't actually heard the album. Like I hadn't heard any of the actual songs. It was just like descriptions of sonic textures that led to the pedal. And so then when the album came out, I was like, oh, cool. It does sound like Screen Violence, the pedal. You know, it worked. I don't know if I thought, oh, it does the thing, but it made me think that there are probably, I'm sure there are a lot of signature products where the endorsing artist goes, okay, I guess it's a thing, you know, it matches the brief, but there are also probably ones where they're like, oh, it does the thing, you know, it really, we really achieved the thing we were looking for. So signature products, I bet, are a whole other, you know, a lot of them kind of make the promise that they will quote unquote do the thing. You know, if you're saying,
right,
you know, I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh yeah, this is the John Mayer sound, you know, this is the Dumble sound is a great example like that. You know, JHS just put out the Not a Dumble pedal. There's a lot of Dumble pedals, but it's like, how could a pedal? It's almost like Dumble pedal is like an idea of a sound, and then double amp is just its own. I don't know. It's a very amorphous target to hit.
Yes,
but it is interesting to kind of present it as, you know, I'm sure there are a lot of people that are like, this Dumble pedal will make you sound exactly like John Mayer.
Well, and that, I think that's sort of,
I can't do that.
Well, but that sort of gets at the thing that I was talking about earlier, where it's like sometimes the bottom falls out of the thing of what you thought it was, and like maybe a lot of people will be like, oh, the thing is the pedal, it's not the amp. You know, and they're like, "Oh shit, it's $119 instead of 500,000."
Yeah,
like,
and that's the thing. Yeah, for some people, it might actually, fully get them there. And that I'm sure JHS is not saying this will make you sound like John Mayer, but in that case, you're right. It could be the totally different direction of like, it's not even promising.
Yeah,
that, and yet.
Like, I think a lot of people have that experience, even if they're just like, let me just plug in my old TS9 and see what it's, and they're like, oh shit, this is awesome. Like, you know, like, what was I doing? Like, I know people have that all the time. And then you're like, well, what is the thing? Like, do I have enough data about the thing? And like,
that's part of why I gave the example of the Mythos Envy, because it was like, I played that and I was like, wow, this just like, it hits a spot, it does a thing, and it made me think like, do I just like Tube Screamers at least occasionally?
Yeah. Interesting.
You write them off until they are introduced to you through a different angle, and you go, oh.
Yes, I mean that's I've talked about it on here before, but me using the low input on my amp, like. Now I'm like, I'm doing the thing with my Marshall JMP on the low input. Everyone's like, what? Like, I didn't think that was where you did the thing on that amp. Well, that's where I'm doing it now. So.
Turns out.
Yeah. Okay, I believe this is Dave Jordan. So this will be, he'll have a good thing to say about the thing, you know, or the thing as we're calling it.
So. This is actually pretty specifically in
Jordan.
relation to what Dan posted in the Old Blood Discord about, you know, sending in voicemails about pedals that quote unquote do the thing. And I think there needs to be a distinction between a pedal that quote unquote does the thing and a pedal that quote unquote does that thing. And, you know, kind of like in reference to what Dan is saying, something like the Mythos Envy or a Boss VB2 does the thing.
Wait, is he in the room with us right now? What did
I gave those examples. I wanted to in the Discord. What? I was like, yeah, what did I think I gave those three examples of like the Envy, the VB2, and the Onward, because I wanted to frame it slightly, just to like, I was like, well, you know, I'll discuss in fullness the idea, but I'll at least give some indication. Right. So yeah.
Okay. Good. Otherwise, I should have just said,
I have no idea. I don't know how he thought of those examples.
Oh my god!
In that, like, if you're looking for a Tube Screamer type pedal or a vibrato, those pedals do the thing. However, I would say that the Chase Bliss Onward is the opposite of that, where it is so singular that it does that thing. Where, like, if you want a pedal that does the Onward thing, you need to get the Onward.
Yeah.
It's the pedal that does that thing. But it doesn't do the thing. Because the thing feels like a blanket term that can be applied to, you know, a type of pedal, where Onward is like so specific that I think it is doing that thing rather than
It's funny because I like agree and disagree at the same time. Where I'm like,
okay, bye.
I'm like, I think he's right, but I also want to make a case that he's not, you know. But I think because I think that was part of what I was trying to explore. Is like, why does my brain hear an Onward and go, oh man, it just does the thing, but then also hears, you know, Tube Screamer or whatever, and goes, it just does the thing. Like, how can those be the same? And I do think the thing versus that thing is a pretty useful way of framing, because like Dweller doesn't do the thing, but it definitely does that thing.
Yeah.
But then it's like, yeah, if there's another, maybe this goes back to like when you were wondering whether Flatlight can do the thing, and the first thing I reached for is the idea of another pedal doing the same thing, and a Flatlight fan being like, "Oh, it does the thing." Like almost
Yeah.
like, does it have to be more than one example of that sound
Right.
to qualify for being the thing? But what are your thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, I just keep going back to where like you can abstract everything away to nothing, kind of. Like you can be like, well, what Onward is doing is this pitch. It's still a pitch modulate, time modulate, whatever. You could find some phrase that would be like, well, that's true, or describe the actual audio process that's happening in a way that's like, well, that's the thing you like. You like granular, distorted, pitch shifted. Like you could start going down that route. That's not fun for anyone, but
Yeah. And at a certain point, it does turn into just like, it's like, are we just doing is a hot dog a sandwich thing where it's like the answer doesn't matter. It's just the conversation,
Yes. And then like, and even because I'm with you on there because there's people who use their tools and they're like, yeah, I don't know what it's doing. I'm just using my ears and I like it. And like, I'm not like that. Like I get more out of my device the more I know about how it's working on a deeper level. Like that's how I am with computers. Like, having you and I have some CS degree classes and stuff, and it's like that helped me be able to use just any computer, any device better because I know. Or like when you know what Google search is actually doing and you stop typing in like, how do I do blah, blah, blah. You're like, it needs keywords. So you put in this weird phrase because you know that that's what it wants.
Yeah. You're not framing it as a question. You're knowing what will give the best result. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I could, this feels like a thing where I literally see both sides of it. And like, it comes down to, at least for me, it's like, I know myself. Whereas, like I said, I want to be happy with just what I'm hearing, but that can be increased for me by knowing what is happening in that device. But that you can I can absolutely go too far with that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell you where that exact stopping point should be.
Yeah.
So
I'm thinking, just back on like the thing versus that thing. But then also, like, it felt like there was a moment where we were like, oh, maybe the thing is defined by its, like, ineffability. Maybe, when it can't be defined, that allows it to be the thing. And that would be more of a blanket. That could cover Onward as well as VB2 or whatever.
Yeah.
But I do have it's like part of me wants to know why the VB2, like, what exactly is the thing there. But then part of me is also perfectly happy to just be like, it's okay, just play the VB2,
Well,
but then other pedals, you have a similar thought of like, what is that magic? But you want to dissect them instead. You want to fully understand.
and that's like to me, like the HM2 sound is coming back or is back and it's pretty big right now.
Mm-hmm.
And like to me, like I like that sound in certain contexts, but I'm even more into it knowing where those frequency bumps are. Like, why does it sound like a chainsaw?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's because of this weird EQ curve that it has. And it's like, oh, well, can I apply that to other things? Like, can I make my float do that on its way into a different pedal? Like that's kind of where I go. So like the HM2 thing, I guess the way I'm describing it is like, that's just an EQ curve. And you could kind of get that thing, or maybe trick someone if you know those things about it. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm stuck on, you're like, you can kind of get that thing, or maybe trick someone. I'm just thinking like, oh, is there any element of that? Like sure, a tube screamer is just like a soft clipper with a hump at 750 or whatever hertz, it's like there's a mid hump, there's a type of clipping, there's a this, there's a that. But is it only that, or is there
Yeah.
And that's when you get into like magic diodes and stuff like that. So that's a whole other
Yeah, diodes. And then the flip side is the YouTube videos where they're like, what actually makes a guitar sound the way it does? And it's like, we made this out of plywood and just threw pickups on it. And you're like, shit, it sounds the same. Like, I
tied a guitar string around this Tele neck pickup.
Yeah.
Now I sound like Tom Morello.
Yeah, I bought the cheapest pickup off Temu, and it sounds awesome. You're like, what? All right, let's get to another one here.
Yeah.
We'll blow through these.
Hey, Glenn Brothers, what's one pedal or device, maybe snack, I don't know, you just didn't get along with originally that you find irreplaceable now? Whether you changed the context it's in or just how you approached it. Thanks.
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm like looking, I'm like, well, what was it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything that I have like fully flipped on.
I mean, I feel like that about the chorus effect in general. Just like the whole genre kind of has like applying that to my main signal and not just like a delay repeat or a reverb trail, you know? I really think that that's a big one for me. I was so anti-chorus, you know, coming out of being born in the 80s and like growing up hearing cheesy 80s things and clocking them as that.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I don't know. That's now I have multiple. I got Rainbow Machine, Somersault, The Florist. Like I have like all these different flavors of them now.
I guess vibrato might kind of be that for me. I had a Maleko vibrato that was it was in a mini, like a 1590A size, 2 knobs, little yellow guy that I really liked and I used a lot, but I used it more as an effect. It was there to do like effecty vibrato things.
Yeah.
And then I had a moment where I was running the VB2 into a delay or something. Basically, I realized that vibrato at the front of a signal chain with other time-based effects happening turns into something like a chorus, but in a different way. Like if you know, if your vibrato is moving on the dry signal and then it hits a delay, the delay isn't going to line up with the vibrato cycle such that they're moving together. So then it starts to create these kind of these natural chorusing effects. And that it turned it from an effecty effect to like an always on. Like I read, if I set this subtly so it doesn't totally interfere with like my note center, then I can just kind of leave it on most of the time, if not all the time.
Yeah.
And that'll do an interesting thing. And I think I had a bit of a moment with flanger before that. Like I think maybe the Chase Bliss Spectre or something. I thought flanger was just airplane noises. And then I realized it could be subtler, like chorusy effects. So I went through a real flanger phase and then kind of a vibrato and flanger phase. And now I think that's kind of where I am. Like part of me wants to leave the vibrato on all the time and kick the flanger on occasionally. Because similarly, you know, flanger also being time-based, like it's like even when I say put a delay after your VB2 or your vibrato pedal, that can include an additional chorus or flanger or something because those are delay lines as well.
Right.
So, yeah, so I can't think of like a specific device that I have really flipped on, but genre of effect, that is definitely one.
Yeah, and I'm that way about the Big Muff too. It's like I have one of Dave Jordan's King Bears, which is, you know, his own Big Muff flavor formula.
Yeah.
And like it was just every time I tried a muff before, it was like one of the biggest, like, I love the way it sounds on recordings when other people play it, but then when I play it, I'm just like I don't get it, you know.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, and you know, it might be because his is so good and it's you know, it's a very good one, but there's a lot of stuff about it. And this gets back to the thing is like when Dave Jordan came over to my house, he brought schematics and all these different Big Muffs, and I got to sit there and plug them all in, and he told me about, you know, the LPB one and how it got built up from that. And like, so that legitimately helped. Like, even if he'd have been like, just here's a King Bear, see you later, I don't think I would have bonded with it as much as if we hadn't had that little
Yeah.
And that was just because he's like, oh, this is like my thing. I would love to share the. I keep saying the thing and then realizing, oh, that's the thing we're talking about, the thing.
Now I'm thinking like I'd be curious to go back and listen to Dave's episode because I can really hear in his voice the phrase, it just does the thing. So I'm like, did it?
How many times did he say that?
Many times? Or did it like, am I just stealing that phrase from him?
He does.
He's the only person who's ever said it before.
Yeah. Wow.
Nobody could be. There's a good chance that it's like conversations with him locked that phrase into my head, and then my internal monologue started using it too. Because just saying, like, it just does the thing is. Yeah. Such a good way of describing that. Yeah. That particular magic.
Sure. I don't think there's anything else more specific for me than that. But that's a good question.
Yeah, I think generally. Things that I haven't got on well with, I've just sold, so
yeah,
I haven't like had something in the pedal library that just sat there for a long time until I rediscovered it. It's more like,
I have some stuff that I want that to happen with, like I have a data corruptor, the Earthquaker one. That's one where I'm like, I'm not going to sell it because I don't want to, but I haven't used it in a way that really warrants me keeping it either. But I'm like, there's just like a potential there that I don't. That's why I'm keeping it around.
Yeah,
that could be one. All of a sudden, a couple years like, this is the greatest thing. I don't know. That's
how I feel about the Randy's Revenge ring modulator. It's like,
oh yeah,
my favorite ring mod sound. But I don't know if I've ever used it on a song. I'm sure I've used it on like, Instagram clips or whatever, but it's like, I wouldn't get rid of it. And yet I probably should.
Nah, just keep it. Just keep it. Keep everything. I should get rid of some stuff actually. I have too much. All right. We got 3 more voicemails. Let's see. Do you want to power through them or you want to call it? No. I don't know.
We can power through them. Do we want to do a brief aside purely because Clint also said like he hopes we're enjoying the Brothers, and I mentioned we might mention the Brothers as well. This is the Chase Bliss pedal that came out recently, the Brothers AM, which is their collaboration with Analog Man on a King of Tone type pedal that is MIDI controlled. It has presets and expression and all that stuff, and it sounds really nice.
It does sound. It does the thing.
Many would say it does the thing because and that was an interesting thing of like if you watch their kind of their videos on it, it's like they kind of say it doesn't sound exactly like a King of Tone. It sounds very close to a King of Tone, and it captures the elements of a King of Tone that we were looking to capture, but without like maybe some of the harder to source components and things like that. So that it could be achieved more at scale with that sort of digital control and everything, but still do a thing where you hear the boost setting and you're just like, oh yeah, I could just kind of leave this on. Like it's slightly driven. There's a little bit of mid emphasis, but not too much. And it has a really interesting character to it.
Yeah. I did the thing with that pedal where, I mean, I never have the volume on anything when I'm scrolling social media. Like I'd never hear the audio of anything, and so
which is very funny for people in our
I know
position,
but it generally means that like, and not that I'm like, oh, I already know everything about the Brothers AM, but just like I knew Joel was going to send me one. I was like, so I didn't really deep dive on the videos to know. I was like, oh, it's 2 King of Tones, that's cool. But then I start playing with it, and there's the middle switch with the sun, the treble boost circuit. I was like, oh, at first, because I love, especially with Joel's pedals, I love doing a first go without reading the manual and without knowing really as much as I should from social media. And I was flipping that middle switch. I was like, damn, it gets louder. Like I don't know what this is doing. And then I go read the manual. Very well done by Eric there. To see that, oh wow, that's actually like a third circuit that's in there. Basically, you get the treble booster plus 2 King of Tones, and that was really that was another one where it's like, oh, I mean, obviously that information helps me learn how to use the pedal because that's I should read the manual, and that's what I did, and that's fine. But once I had that knowledge, it was like, oh, okay. And I very quickly, found out certain things were like that boost sounds killer into the King Bear. Because the King Bear already like the big muff from Dave Jordan, like it, because there's already so much heft to it. Like once you get those highs going, it's like screaming. But I was like, it's Dave Jordan's other pedal that I'm using, the Robbins distortion, is like the treble booster really like neuters that sound. Like it makes it real thin and like you're losing the like big chunk of the like that hum sounding distortion, Yeah. So I found that interesting. I was like, oh, it's obviously very good in one scenario and like not ideal in the other.
Yeah.
But then again, like that's why you have presets. It's like those distortions are in parallel. There's times where I'm not using the Robbins, like, and I could crank the treble booster just with a MIDI preset change. That's cool.
Yeah, and that is it's like to a certain degree, I'm like, am I somebody who will use MIDI with my drive pedals? Currently, no, but like it also it's so cool to have that option, and it makes sense that it's like, oh, I wish this, I wish I could foot switch the treble boost on and off. And it's like, well, you can rig something up. You've got devices that can, I've got a quad Cortex. I can definitely just like have that, I can literally attach a foot switch to that toggle switch by like creating presets or probably just sending a CC message.
Yeah. But yeah, it is good. It's really good. It truly is one of those like, oh, my amp feels better. Like it's one of those inquantifiable, like it's just not sterile anymore. And again, there's numbers and values that would be attached to that. Like, oh, your high end is this and your mid range is whatever. And like, but I'm just sitting here going, it's doing the thing.
Sounds nice.
Sounds pretty good.
Hey, let's power through more voicemails.
This is about screen violence, seems like.
Hey guys, Dylan here. First off, screen violence being discontinued. It was the pedal that taught me that distortion after delay and verb and stuff like that is actually the coolest way to sequence your pedals, in my opinion. So shout out to screen violence on that. And then pedals that just do the thing. I would say the Drolo Kiwami. It's a newer one in their lineup. But it is such an interesting way of creating new modulation shapes. I mainly use it as a flanger with a set random rate and an envelope that controls almost like the depth of that rate.
Oh, that's cool.
Or the depth of the effect, which is really, really interesting. So definitely recommend checking that one out.
Drolo, man. Legend.
Yeah, Drolo. I want to go look that up. I'm like, I'll look it up after.
Yeah.
New Drolo modulation pedal. That sounds very cool. That's definitely a good example of the thing debate.
Yeah, totally. This next one I think will get at this conversation interestingly too.
Sweet pig. Yep.
Hell yeah.
So yeah. The thing.
The thing.
I just got the Black Mass 1312s, and for me, it's doing the thing. Is at least what I'm understanding the thing is. But really, I mean, the thing is, it's got to be subjective, right? Because where one guy says this pedal does the thing, another guy probably says that ain't shit. This pedal does the thing. Yep. So in reality, can you really pinpoint what the thing is?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's why we're calling it the thing.
I think
it's kind of like what is normal. You know what I mean? Like normal is to me what it's not to you, right?
The relativity of it all.
Maybe we got to go back in time and watch the movie, The Thing. I don't know. Maybe that's the thing about the thing. How many times can you say the thing? Maybe we should have a counter on this episode on how many times thing is thrown around.
Didn't we? Dude.
Anyway, hope you guys have a good time. Have a good day. Stay safe. Be good. Love you all. I'm out.
Thank you. Love you.
Stay
safe. I do want to point out,
do the thing.
First thing, you don't have to go back in time to watch a movie. I'll just say that. You can watch The Thing right now if you wanted to.
It does. I do think The Thing, by definition, is a moving target. I do think that, it's like it has to be subjective. It's like, yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
But okay, you said the Black Mass 1312. That's a rat.
Yep.
The rat is a pretty, in terms of the things that we've been talking about, the rat is a more quantifiable one than some of the things we've been talking about.
On the that spectrum, it's definitely
that spectrum. Oh my God. That's the new title of the episode.
I'll be honest.
That spectrum.
I think when I pitched this concept to you, oh boy, okay, we're good, we're fine. One of the things about having your office be in the basement is sometimes the tag of your shirt will tickle the top of it'll like flip up and tickle like an inch higher than the neckline, and you'll be like, that's a bug, that's definitely a bug, and you'll freak out for a second and totally lose your train of thought.
See, I thought there was a bug, and you were going to be like, check out this.
I was convinced, or maybe I just knocked it off and then blamed the tag, but it definitely felt like the tag was flipped up. Maybe a bug is stuck on the tag. What were we saying?
That would suck.
Oh yeah, when I pitched the idea of maybe we could talk about things that do the thing, I did not think we would get this much conversation out of it. So
I mean, it's funny because it's like there's not going to be any we've made progress on figuring out what the thing is at the end of this. Yeah. It's just the idea
that it served as a conversation starter that we then continually we stayed on it.
I mean,
thanks to the listeners, that's
thanks
listeners
to the listeners. We've got one last very short voicemail here. Let's see what it is.
Yeah, I like the pedal that makes it sound really bad. That's my favorite one when it does the thing. Okay, bye, have fun.
Yes, that's it. The bad pedal.
When that last voicemail was talking about the subjectivity of it, I was thinking of, there was a recent Andertons video that has the Black Fountain, as well as the Benson Deep Sea Diver collab and a couple other pedals. And they loved the Benson pedal. Like that seemed to be kind of their favorite of the bunch. And looking at the comments was very funny because like so many people were like, that pedal sounded awful. Like it was just so many people that were like,
oh really?
Basically saying like, I think it was just like, it was too adventurous. It was like, oh, it sounds crazy. And I don't like crazy sounding things. But it was an interesting context where like, I think we look at Andertons as one of those channels where it's like, yep, it's blues licks through, it's kind of like classical guitar YouTube concept. And so you would expect
it's a good version of the stereotype. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
it's like, well done.
Yeah. You would expect kind of their viewership to be similar. So, okay, these things all line up, but then what happens is they do like encounter a weird pedal or, weird sort of by the standards of the stereotype, and they bond with it because it's like they can be adventurous too, but there's a section of that like viewership listenership that's like, absolutely not,
no way,
I will not accept this.
Yeah,
because of course I'm just looking for, I'm like, I want to know what the people, because they also liked the Black Fountain, great, it was cool to see.
Yeah,
but I was just like, I want to know those comments. I want to see the haters on the Black Fountain. You sometimes you just can't help it. But there's a handful of good comments, and then no real bad ones. But then it was like, and there were bad comments about like the other pedals too. It wasn't specifically the Benson, but I was just surprised.
Yeah, equal opportunity. Yeah,
it was an interesting context of like, in this video, the hosts are having a lot of fun with and impressed by a pedal, and their commenters are like, gross, awful. Like, well, obviously not. Like, you just watched a video of talented people who work in this industry being like, this is cool, we like this.
Yeah, it's so funny, the overall conversation of like, how do you want to be presented with how pedals sound? You know,
Yep.
as someone who doesn't have the pedal, what would be your favorite way to hear it? Like it seems like you can't win that one from my end. And you should largely ignore the tensions there. But yeah,
What I want to hear is like my rig, but with that pedal in it. But also my playing is better than it normally is, and my settings are more dialed.
Yeah, like I do feel like if you don't like the way someone's demoing a pedal or the context is too out there for you, like there's someone that is in your wheelhouse doing something with it.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
Yeah. But so yeah, all of that to say, I love the idea of the person who just says, "I like the pedals. It makes the thing sound bad.
Make
I
it
wanna
bad.
Make the guitar sound bad."
Yeah.
Sometimes that's really what you're doing. You're like, I want this to be noisy and gross, and I want that for an artful reason.
Mm-hmm. That's why I have the noise pedal, the Talon Noise. It's so good.
Fun.
Ridiculous. It's just that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's gross nasties.
Good grossness. You know, maybe there was a comment that was just like, that Benson is gross, and I was like, this is negative, but maybe it wasn't.
He was like, oh, that's gross.
That's gross.
Like, oh, that's. Yeah, I was about to say something that made me sound so old. I'm not gonna say it.
Were you gonna use the word grody?
I was gonna say something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So bias screen violence, I guess. Are we?
Yep.
Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. I gotta go get the thing.
What? Oh, chat. Call in and let us know what you think the thing is that Dan's talking about.
I couldn't. It felt like it was too good of an opportunity.
No, that is good. That was really good. But yeah, screen violence. Screen violence does the thing. You should buy one.
Yeah. When you're listening, you've probably got about 2 weeks left.
Yeah.
Actually, when you're listening to this episode, if it's the day it comes out, I should also acknowledge that like roughly 2 weeks out there or after that, I'm like supposed to have my first child. So I'm just gonna like we're just gonna seed a little bit of that so that in a month or two, when we are suddenly not making object worship because we bank enough episodes, the listener is not confused about what's happening with object worship.
There's a
This is
baby
my way
Pihacha.
of, at the very end, just
dropping
trying to get ahead of a couple emails that are like, where's object worship? As if they will be this far in and like, oh, I remember a couple episodes back when he's
Yeah.
But no, it fast approaches and I'm excited about it. So, eventually I got to let the personal life scooch in there just a little bit.
Just a little.
Just a little excitement.
But yeah,
go buy yourself a Screen Violence. You got a couple weeks left to do it.
There's 2 new colorways.
Yes, there's a nice like soft blue with a white print and like a black and white. They look real cool.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, there's like 4 colors available of it right now, I think.
Yeah, is it? I should know, but I don't. Is it like so? There's the standard one, and then do they have the blue and pink still?
I think so.
And then the 2 new ones. Yeah, so a lot of
we could look.
A lot of good color choices right now.
Let's see what they got on this website.
And it is, people are asking about a V2, and that it's, I could see us taking inspiration from it. There are cool things about the pedal that are very unique to it, but it's like a real discontinuation, where you're not gonna really get this sound in a pedal again.
Yeah, they do have all 4 versions. The one they don't have is the EU white version.
Oh yeah, they're like
yeah.
That makes sense. But if you're in the EU, maybe you can get that one from the Pedal Zone store, or I don't know if that one's available anywhere else or if it's just through Pedal Zone. I think that might be just Pedal Zone exclusive.
Yeah, it might be.
I think we think of it as the EU one, but it might also be a store exclusive to him. We got to get him on the podcast,
dude. Yeah, absolutely. That would be a fun one.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get out of here.
Leave us a review, like, subscribe, whatever.
Subscribe.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you, listening. Object Worship is a production of Old Blood Noise Endeavors. All opinions expressed by the hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect the views of the company. It's edited and mixed by Andy Othling. It's hosted by Andy Othling and yours truly, Dan Piachek. To get in touch, you can join us on the Old Blood Discord. You can send a message to our various online entities. You can leave a comment on YouTube since
go do the thing.
Podcast now. Yeah, go do the thing. Join us in the live chat when we premiere it. Just like